Hello, in this Volanté Enterprise kiosk video, we'll be taking a look at our quick menu best practices. When we're taking a look at our quick menu design, we talk a little bit about the graphic types and sizing. So we generally suggest using PNG, JPG, or GIF type file formats with an approximate size of 320 by 320 pixels. Now do keep in mind any image that you use on the kiosk will be auto-sized for however large the button happens to be. We can also add our graphics both to the item itself as well as to the category. That brings us to our categories and items. Well, we'll be taking a quick look at how we add a new category and adding a new item. The kiosk will not display blank categories by default. So by giving a category a name and putting one item into it, that category will become active on the next sync and appear on our kiosk. We're also going to take a look at our layout and design. We'll talk a bit about button sizes, labels, and more. And as always, a reminder that we data sync after we've set up our different functions and our different graphics in order for those pieces to be sent down to our kiosk. So let's hop on over to our back office and take a look at how some of these pieces get configured. So from here, we'll be going to our quick menu area and we'll be working on our training kiosk. As we saw in other videos related to our kiosk graphics, this is a layout that has been created previously. Most likely your site will have a layout created for you. However, we will review how some of these setup components are done in other videos. By default, my kiosk would have starters, soup and salad, and beverages as available categories. Let's take a quick look at the kiosk and we can see how these are reflected on our system currently. I'll tap to start. And as we see at the top, I have my starters, my soups and salads, and my beverages. I'm going to return back to the back office and we'll see how we add some additional spaces within our kiosk. I'm going to work on a new space here. So I'm going to move to number 3. From here, I can rename the display name. So let's rename this one sandwiches. I can change the font and button settings. However, what we'll be working on mostly will be related to our kiosk design. Now, best practice is to stick to 3, 4, or 5 columns. And we can change the number of columns available in our layout by using our arrows. Our rows is the first number, and our columns is the second number. Let's work with a 3-column layout for our kiosk. While our kiosk will allow us to have more than 7, 8, or 9 different columns, the more columns we add, the smaller the buttons will be on screen, which does not provide as great an experience for our customer as having larger buttons would. I'm going to start out by putting a label onto one of my buttons. Click, drag, and drop, and give my label a name. In this case, I'm going to call it sandwiches. We'll add that in. I can give my button a color if I like using my color selector. So let's go with orange, and I will save it. From here, I can now start adding in the items I would like to have for my kiosk by using the plus sign on any of the open spaces. I'm going to choose my menu. I can choose my category if I like, and I can choose one or more item to add. I'll go ahead and add in a few different items. We'll go ahead and apply. These items have been successfully added and put into my layout as we see here on screen. I can move my items around simply by clicking and dragging them into different positions. The kiosk will hold open spaces for me. So if I'd like to keep my sandwiches organized by, let's say, wraps and burritos versus bread sandwiches, I can do that by dragging things into place. I can also make some of my items larger. If I select an item, I'm going to hit save first in order to save these items on space. And now if I select an item, I have the ability to move it around and to change sizing on my items. Notice how I have an arrow on the bottom right-hand corner, double-headed arrow. I can now make my items larger. There might be items you'd like to feature as larger graphics. Go ahead and drag them larger. Let's move a few things around. And I'm going to remove this one. Let's say I don't want this in my layout. I'll delete it. I'm going to just minimize my layout a little bit by reducing some of my rows. As we've seen in some of our other videos, item graphics can be added at the item level, or they can be added directly to our quick menu. If I'd like this particular kiosk layout to show a different graphic, I can put a graphic on to the item through the quick menu. This graphic will only be available to items within this quick menu. However, the base item graphic will be available to all other layouts as well. As seen previously, I'm going to choose an item. I do have an item for this in my library already. Scroll down, pick my items graphic and choose add. But again, from here, we could also add an item graphic if we like. I can choose the delete to remove the custom graphic at any time. With my newly created category, I also have the ability of adding a graphic to the category image. For now, let's send down a sync and see what sort of data shows up on our kiosk based on this new layout. I'm going to save it. I'm going to my sync center, and I'm going to choose to sync now. Let's give that a moment and we'll check back in on our kiosk here and see how those changes are reflected. So here we are back with our kiosk, and I'm going to tap to start. Notice now how I have another category that's been added. I had my starters, soup and salad, and now I have sandwiches. Notice how some of my buttons are larger. They're taking up 2 spaces. My graphic has been resized to fit the available graphic space. Some of my items do not have graphics, so best practice would be to return back to item level or quick menu level to add in those graphics to those items to give my customers the best experience. Let's return back to our back office again and we'll do a final check on our menu. I'm going to resize my pictures smaller again on these buttons. Drag them back to regular size. And I can move all of my different items back into different spaces. We'll save this from here. Some of our buttons will not be available for use on kiosk, including discount, PAU, or quick menu changing. These are functions that exist and are used really only for our POS cashier functionality. Please feel free to experiment with your quick menu with labels, items, graphics, and changing the size of your buttons. The layout gives you the ability to be creative with your kiosk and your customer experience. Thank you so much for watching, and look for other videos related to our Volanté Enterprise kiosk configurations. Thank you.